Which movie scene is musically scored perfectly? When the helicopter is approaching the island and descending near the beginning of Jurassic Park. For anyone interested, it begins at 1:20. Link. I haven't seen the original in years. And I just put 2 and 2 together in my head. When he ties the 2 female seatbelt connectors together because there's no male adapter. Only females. No males. And he finds a way. Quote. It was foreshadowing. It just hit me. Absolutely brilliant. 20+ years later. Well, you just blew my DN mind as well. If it makes you feel any better. The holding out for a hero scene in Shrek 2. Definitely. That whole movie's soundtrack is on point. I like the scene in Baby Driver where the music is synced with the windshield wipers perfectly. Change in tempo and all. This question could basically apply to every scene in Baby Driver. Tequila. For anyone unaware, the entire movie is synced to the music playing. The main character always has earbuds in. I've always loved the ending scene in Cruel Intentions when Bittersweet Symphony starts playing. Thor Ragnarok on the bridge with the immigrant song Lion King. The original, King of Pride Rock. Chills every time. Edit because I thought of another one. Obviously all of the LOTR movies but specifically when the Fellowship leave Rivendell. And they're all together and it's panning over the landscapes with the anticipation and urgency. Oh yeah. That's the good ST. It's notoriously hard to get Immigrant Song into any movie. The licensing fees are insane. So the fact that they were able to use once, let alone 3 times, twice in the film, and once for a trailer, is nuts. Definitely helps when you have the financial backing of Disney. It also helps when you finally shoot the film scene they literally wrote the DN song for 50 years ago. Super epic slow-mo of the Viking god of thunder going full ham. Fifth Element opera scene. The bit of opera being performed in that scene is the mad scene from Lucia di Lammermoor. In the scene, Lucia has just stabbed her husband to death off stage. And then sings 20 minutes of show-stopping coloratura. Because, you know, sometimes you just gotta sing coloratura for 20 minutes. The Crow. When Eric Draven returns to his ruined apartment, sees the picture of his slain fiancée, has flashbacks to the night they were killed, smashes the mirror and begins painting his face like the mask they owned. All set to burn by The Cure. Is probably the best superhero reveal ever put to film. Edit. Link. The Quicksilver speed scenes from Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, the latter especially so. Still think he was the best character from both films. Wow, he deserved way more screen time for being so funny. It makes me question what DC will do with the Flash in his movie or crossovers. He's just so op. They probably limited his time deliberately so he doesn't solve their problems too quickly. In Arrival, when they first meet the aliens, the music builds the tension and apprehensive feeling perfectly. Came here specifically to mention the conclusion set to On the Nature of Daylight. I was in tears. The scene in The Lion King where Mufasa saves Simba then gets betrayed by Scar as he was trying to save himself. Stuck in the middle with you scene in Reservoir Dogs. The part of How to Train Your Dragon where they practice flying. Amazing. Also when they break through the clouds with Astrid. Forbidden Friendship is also amazing. Aw man. Beat me to it. Test Drive is an amazing track. I will go to my grave claiming that John Powell got robbed of the Oscar that year by The Social Network. The climactic running scene in Last of the Mohicans. Gives me chills every time. Here's the scene. Link. Whenever I think of best soundtrack ever, this is in my top 5. Apocalypse Now Flight of the Valkyries helicopter scene. Link. 2001 Star Child Comes to Earth. Link. Rocky Training. Link. Star Wars 2 Sons. Link. Saturday Night Fever opening scene. Link. Chariots of Fire opening beach scene. Link. Shaft opening scene. Link. Edit. Realized just about each of these is from the 70s. I'm an 80s kid. But that's good. Because so much of this thread covers modern movies. Leo waking up and getting off the plane to go home in Inception. Yes. The entire Inception soundtrack is so good. But time just fills me with so much feeling. That period of time when Inception came out was quite a challenging year for me. The escapism that the movie offered was incredible. And the score played a huge part in that. I still listen to parts of it at least once a month and it fills me with so much nostalgia. There's a lot of Star Wars shout-outs here. For me, it's always the one scene in A New Hope where Luke looks at the twin suns in Tatooine. The ride of the Rohirrim always gives me goosebumps. Link. You can just say LOTR. Quote. Brilliant soundtrack. The whole thing. End to end. LOTR may be the single most ambitious achievement in the history of film scoring. And I'm including Prokofiev's Nevsky, Shostakovich's Hamlet, and Herman's work with Hitchcock. There are major operas that are less musically impressive and less musically driven than those films. Opening scene in Inglourious Basterds. The entirety of The Fountain. Do you like Huey Lewis and the News? From American Psycho. It really amps up the hilarity of that scene. Their early work was a little too new wave for my tastes. But when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own. Commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound, and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello. But I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor. I loved his little dance. Man, Christian Bale is such a good actor. The opera scene. From Shawshank Redemption. Y'all already know it's Pirates of the Caribbean, the He's a Pirate scene. The sword fight in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'd say the first scene we see Jack Sparrow on that almost sunk ship. One of the best character introductions ever. Seriously. Less than a minute on screen. No dialogue. And you immediately know everything you need to know about that character. Somehow simultaneously an amazing sailor and utterly incompetent. Prone to extreme shows of dramatization. Recently suffered a change in fortune. Goofy in a self-aware sort of way. Brilliant visual characterization. Not a movie scene. But Stranger Things opening music is perfect. How the FK do you make an instrumental song sound like a show? Opening scene to 28 Weeks Later. Gladiator intro battle scene. Also. Now We Are Free fits that movie perfectly. For me, Gladiator is the perfect action film. The Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon vs. Maul duel in The Phantom Menace. Duel of the Fates. OMG yes. Link. I'm very sorry. Why do you apologize? It made the song even better. If that's possible, of course. Not a movie scene, but when Cersei blows up the Sept of Baelor in Game of Thrones. Pretty sure it was one of the first time that a piano was used in the series. LOTR. Forgot which movie. In which there is a romantic scene between Aragorn and Arwen. Then the music is sung by Enya. Title is Anaron. Very beautiful. And thanks to that, I appreciate Enya even more. Basically, scene from LOTR scored with Enya is magnificent. Her vocals were made for high fantasy. I always took Enya as a joke. Until then. And there's a girl in the office who even puts her on sometimes to calm the mood, and it's actually really good. Fight Club, Where Is My Mind? I get chills every time. No matter how many times I watch it. Just perfect. Shaun of the Dead. The fight scene at the Winchester. Whacking the zombie owner to the beat of Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. The entire soundtrack to R.E. D. The Last Samurai. Great score. Honestly, any John Williams score. I'm no fanboy of his. But I will admit that John Williams has a knack for nailing moods in a soundtrack. If you're a music nerd like me, you should listen to the first Harry Potter movie soundtrack. Listen to it in depth, and it's actually quite complex in harmony and depth. But never enough that it takes away from a movie scene. And if you can, at the same time as appreciating the detailed nuances of a piece, perfectly picture the scene in your head. I'd qualify it as perfect scoring. John Williams is the heart and soul of the Star Wars franchise. There are clips on YouTube of A New Hope without his music in it, and it is a piece of st. Absolutely. It's a shame that movies have moved away from good soundtracks. Emo. But at least the cinematography is so much better. There's even Harry Potter clips that remove the soundtrack and it's still awkward. Not as bad as Star Wars. But still pretty bad lol. Joker's music in The Dark Knight. The night window scene. From 1917. Infinity War ending. The duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith. 100%. P1. If anyone else wants to watch, revisit the scene. Link. P2. Link. Office Space when they're destroying the printer. The whole 90s gangster rap soundtrack in that movie always gets me. D. And it feels good to be a gangsta. 100%. The scene. For the poor souls who haven't seen it. NSFW link. John Wick Club scene. Kaleida. Think. Link. The scene from Titanic where the violinists are playing while the ship is sinking. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The final gunfight and the scene when Tuco is looking for the grave and the world starts spinning. Edit. My top-rated comment of all time. Thank you for the silver kind stranger. The music is titled The Ecstasy of Gold. And it's possibly one of the best things Ennio Morricone ever wrote. Link. Twin Sunset in SW A New Hope. I think the score is called The Force Suite. There's a video of a guy playing it on a trumpet in a stairwell and it sounds amazing. I think that suite includes it. IIRC. The score in A New Hope is called Binary Sunset. The scene of Andy's escape in The Shawshank Redemption. The whole score throughout the film builds up to that moment. Jaws. I would think it's something classic like this. What about the scene in Amadeus when Salieri is describing Mozart's perfect score and you hear the music playing in his head? That is also a great one. Ice Dance. From Edward Scissorhands. The Lighting of the Beacons. From Return of the King. The music in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone when they are playing wizard's chess and Ron sacrifices himself. Wow, yeah. They never thought about this, but I can hear that scene in my head now. Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. All of it. That little instrumental from the Up intro is FN mint. Can't believe I had to scroll this far to find Married Life. My wife walked down the aisle to it. Brave Woman. The church scene in Kingsman. Link. Night Call, Kavinsky in Drive 2011. The Lighting of the Beacons scene in Return of the King. Amazing how it changes from Gondor's to Rohan's theme. And also has a riff of the rustic Shire bass theme at the beginning while Pippin is lighting the beacon. Such a great scene. Lots of Lord of the Rings comments in here. But this is the right one. Interstellar. Cooper and Brand reattaching to the space station after leaving man's planet. Link. Hans Zimmer is an amazing composer. Walking through the club in Goodfellas. And that dress. With the V back in the bow. FG gorgeous. Interesting choice. Though. I usually think of the scene paired with Layla. I like this scene in Goodfellas. I can hear De Niro's voice saying, "Do I have to kill this MR? I can't believe I have to kill this MR." Quote. The Last March of the Ents. In LOTR The Two Towers. Instant shivers. I've watched these movies 100 times and they still impress. After seeing the Hobbit films, I wondered why they got so much CP. They seemed like perfectly serviceable fantasy movies with just a few too many corny Hollywood moments. But then I rewatched the original trilogy, since it had been a few years since I'd seen it, and I immediately understood. Those films are practically perfect. And I suddenly got a little mad that the newer films missed out on being what they could have. Likely because of a bunch of douchebag producers who wanted a quick buck more than they wanted to create instant and enduring classics. All three of the movies are so well done musically. Howard Shore really captured the feeling of The Lord of the Rings so well. After all these years, listening to the soundtrack still gives me chills. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.